Help us keep the Product Porch lights on by giving at patreon.com/theproductporch. Please review the podcast on your favorite platform. Your reviews help new listeners discover us. Thanks. How do you know if something's good? What they told me was basically if everyone around these cubicles here like it. That was it.
Oh, man.
That's good.
All right.
Welcome to the Product Porch with Joe Golly, Ryan Cantwell, and me, Todd Blockier. Our topic today is different product cultures and how to be successful in each of them. Now settle in, folks, because on the Product Porch, every topic is a product topic.
College football team since 1955. So that's like the running joke.
So they haven't lost a game, but they also haven't played games either.
Good to see you both.
It's good to be
It's
back.
good to be back, Todd.
Why does it feel like it's been forever? It hasn't been.
It does. It's like we've been a hiatus, but it really hasn't been.
It's been
No.
2 weeks.
Each of us has been living our own lives like hard.
Yeah.
There's been a lot that's happened.
There's no slouching.
This just says we need to spend more time on the porch. That's what.
1,000%.
Well, I got a topic to get us excited today, to get us jamming. I've been thinking a lot about cultures. I was reading a book, and it was talking about how team culture matters more than organizational culture, which really made me reflect on the different product teams that I've worked on. And I made a list. I think each of us made our own list of different product cultures that we've seen. And so I'm really excited to go through our list and share with each other. So I thought maybe we could start by playing a game.
I like games.
Here's a game I thought we could play. What we'll do is we'll share some details from a culture that we have that we wrote down with each other. And we'll let the other guys respond, see if they think they have a similar culture, and we'll name each other's cultures.
Ooh, okay.
I like
Then
the
we'll
naming.
name it. Yeah, and then we'll talk about how to be successful in that culture.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
Let me start off with this one, Todd. The name of my culture is Do Whatever Sales Wants Culture.
Now, did you want Joe to give us the description, we name it, or did you want him to name it and then we talk about it and give it other names?
I think Joe just flipped the script, which I'm totally fine with.
Okay.
I'll have you guys name my cultures, and we could describe Joe's. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Let's just roll with it.
All right.
So Joel's culture, what was that name again?
It's do whatever we need to do to make sales happy culture.
Do whatever we need to do to make sales happy culture.
Okay. Then let's do this. Let's do this, Joe. I'm going to share some elements of culture. So I've been studying culture in preparation for this conversation.
Okay.
And I there's some distinct elements to culture. So I'll share the elements, and then now that we have your name, the title of your culture, let's see if Ryan and I can come up with some of the fill in the blanks for some of these elements.
Okay.
That work?
That works.
So here are the different elements of culture: language, values, norms, beliefs, customs and traditions, and artifacts. Joe, your product culture again was?
Do whatever we need to do to make sales happy.
So the language would come, I think, from the salesperson to start, and it would sound something like this. We need to do X to close this major sale.
Oh my gosh.
And then the product manager, basically the salesperson says jump. The product manager asks how high. And we go through this. So the product management team in this do whatever sales wants culture is then like, there's conversation and language about the roadmap. Like, when's it going on the roadmap? Is the backlog organized? It's like, where's my project prioritized? Like, when's it going to be done? So it becomes a very project-focused vocabulary. When and how and like what? Like, when can I demo it? Like those sort of things, right?
Yes. And let's talk about artifacts. So I thought of some artifacts in this sales-led do whatever sales wants. So FAQs, right? You always have to have your FAQs.
Oh, yes.
Let's see. Another artifact. You got to have the demo. So the demo that you use, oftentimes here in this case, I think a product manager becomes a sales engineer.
Oh yeah.
Do whatever they have to go with the sale to get that sale closed. They're going to go with sales, and they're going to go through the demo.
Yeah, and Todd, I think I would call those norms. Like the product manager becomes you're the Robin to the salesperson's Batman, and you are sitting side by side, and you're showing like, hey, product manager, can you give the pitch about the new product? Because I don't know anything
doing
about
the
it.
grunt work, right?
Right.
Boy Wonder. You're doing Boy Wonder's grunt work. You're doing the Boy Wonder grunt work, right?
That's it.
Right. I got a belief here. Joe will appreciate this. Here's a belief. If you build it, they will come.
Todd is pulling on my James Earl Jones Field of Dreams heartstrings right now. Nice timely reference there, Todd Black. Nice timely reference. Yes. 1000%.
If you build it, they will come, right?
Yes.
You'll close the sale.
Yeah.
Just build it.
Yes.
All right. So Todd, I've got a custom and tradition I want to throw at, or both of you. I got a custom and tradition. Are you ready? The product management team looks forward to and cannot wait to attend the annual sales conference.
Oh my God.
Because they're treated like a king or queen.
Yes.
Another norm to disrupt your roadmap constantly.
Yes.
Disrupt your release plan constantly. So sprint creep, that's part of the game. You're going to have scope creep every single sprint.
Yep.
So some of the behaviors, getting on calls with clients and apologizing for the delay in the delivery of their capabilities, that's a common behavior. Or you become the lightning rod or the reason why things get delayed. It's because of Joe, right? Because of the PM. Like there's a lot of disassociation of a responsibility back to the PM. So you become kind of the causation of the issues. You become the primary at the conference. Like you're the focal point. Those are the behaviors that you typically see in those types of cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about then. As a product manager, how would you succeed in this do whatever sales tells you product culture?
First, you need to understand what sales goals are. And it's your job to try to align with those first, like prioritize the business outcomes from the sales perspective. So more revenue, more market share, like whatever is motivating them to sell things.
Right.
Align with that. I think that's step number one.
I agree with you. And you know what? I'm going to add to that. First, I just want to say, I heard some disgust in the tone of all of our voices. So I'm going to venture a guess here and say that this is not the favorite product culture for any of us. But I do want to say, just from the get-go, judgment-free zone here. You could be really successful and actually enjoy this culture. It could be right for you. And I want to point out one thing you could do to be successful that I think is admirable and should be a best practice for most product managers. And that would be sales enablement.
Sure.
Really thinking about, okay, what are the key messages? How do I help sales sell this? How do I help them look forward and sell the future of what's coming? Which to me is a great principle for product management, regardless. And I think it's really meaningful in do what sales tells you culture.
Yeah, I mean, you have to establish a partnership. They're a partner with you. And just like any stakeholder, any shared service, you bring them along on the journey. You don't keep things to yourself. You're sharing feedback. You just bring them along with you. You treat them like an equal. You don't. The problem is, in a lot of these cultures, you're walking into an us versus them mentality.
Right.
And so it's very hard to unwind some of that negativity. And I had that situation. I had that situation where it was an us versus them. What are they doing? And I had another situation where I treated them like a partner. And even then, I still got a little bit of grief from my own team. They're like, what are you doing? Why are you hanging out with them? Why are you talking to them all the time? I'm like, because I'm trying to avoid a fire. I'm trying to avoid surprises. I think it's a very delicate balance you have to manage as a product manager, because there are other people around you that are playing into that negativity with working with sales.
Yeah, it's all about building trust, right? And if we think
Yeah.
about the general nature of a salesperson, they will thrive on relationships.
Totally.
They want a relationship. So
Yeah.
if we can give them that, I think that puts us in a stronger position and the ability to thrive in this sales culture.
And product managers should care about sales.
1000%.
That's the one thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's too many product managers who don't. They don't think that selling the product is part of their remit, right? But obviously, if no one buys your product, what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, good. I felt like we should give an upside to a culture that we were all obviously dismayed by. Ryan, you want to go next? Why don't you pick one that you would want to discuss, like the one that your favorite from, not in your favorite culture, but the most exciting culture from your list, or the one you're most like to talk about?
Ooh, the one I would most like to talk about. So let's talk about this one. So I'm going to have you guys label it. So I gave it a name, but I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'll have you label it. So this is a team that makes decisions based upon data and evidence only. They don't think beyond. So they rely heavily on metrics and KPIs and things that are being collected from the field at large, and ensure precision through meticulous measurement and analytics. Like everything, it's got to be in the dashboard or it doesn't matter. It's like that mentality. So, and if there's any decision that's made, the first words out of their mouth is, did we A/B test it? Did we? like that sort of thing.
I have a name for this culture, but I want to hear if Joe has one before I go. Do you have a name, Joe?
I don't know why the term like tightwad comes to my mind. Right? It's like it's just someone that's like wound up very tight. Like it's that lacks personality, that I can appreciate the rigor, but it's detrimental, right? Like you're missing the nuance of product management, because product management is very nuanced. It isn't black and white. You've heard me. I'm not going to talk about my swimming habits again, because I don't need to get grief about this in another clip, right? But right, it's like just wound up. It's a wound up culture. It's almost like you're walking on eggshells, right? It's like, it's a very, like you're just very afraid, because you're like, did I dot all my I's? Did I cross all my T's? Like I feel like you're there's like a lot of hesitancy there. I don't know if there's a lot of communication there.
There could be over analysis.
Yeah.
Here's what's funny. I would call that a data-driven culture.
Yeah.
Now I want to say something here, though. Ryan, what is that expression?
Oh, because that's exactly what I labeled it. The data-driven culture.
Boom!
So, nailed it.
Score. All right. I feel like I got a point on the board. Okay. Todd's up 1-0-0. All right.
Good job. Proud of you.
But here's the thing. So Ryan, I'm guessing you use it in the same way I use it then. Like when I think data-driven, now first I have to say, I love all of this. KPIs, data, making decisions with data, extremely, extremely important. But data-driven means something specific to me. And when I hear data-driven, it means that you follow whatever the data tells you. Whereas someone who's data-informed might balance that data with experience and other qualitative decision-making and just making decisions. Sometimes you have to make decisions before you have all the data. So anyway, that's the difference I see. Ryan, why did you say data-driven?
So I'm going to give you a couple of pros and a couple of cons, and I think you touched on some of them already. So I think some good aspects of this culture is that rigor, of making informed decisions, but not going too far on the spectrum, optimizing outcomes, right? Continuous analysis can lead to refinement in the things that we're trying to do. Good. Collecting customer insights, gaining deeper understanding of everything, because things are never still, right? Our market's moving, our competitors are moving, our customers are moving, we're moving. We have to make sure our understanding is fresh. That's the good. The bad, would be, you mentioned analysis paralysis. It would be
Right.
like drawing hard lines and saying, nope, can't do it. Or I'm going to try to do too much of it at the expense of maybe moving faster. Perhaps we're limiting creativity and imagination too. Like we still need a little bit of that element to be innovative. Like we're going to use the innovative word. So we stifle that a little bit, I think, when we rely on too much data and testing, which kind of is in line with a high dependence. It's almost like we fall into a trap of an unhealthy relationship with data. And instead, we remove ourselves from making the decision, like kind of you were saying, Todd. We're taking ourselves out of the equation. We're trying to let it. Oh, the data tells me this is the direction to go. But no, whether we're using a technique to try and find insights and meaning in our data or otherwise, we're still the ones that need to make the decision in the end, because there's a lot of nuance sometimes that has to be factored in as we're making those decisions.
So Ryan, I just realized looking at my list, number 4 on my list was the data-driven culture.
Nice. There we go.
When I was in publishing, Todd, it was very strong data-driven because we were selling magazine subscriptions and there was tons of A/B testing and, like different types of creative testing, both on digital properties and the magazine product itself. A lot of SEO, like very data. Yeah, I would say, in that space, extremely data driven, very, very analytical. But there wasn't room for creativity or taking risk. I don't know. It was challenging. I mean, you worked at the LA Times, right, Todd? I mean, how did you feel about that culture? Was it like that for you?
You know, what's really interesting. So I could thrive in this culture. I am often data thirsty. I'll give you an example from this last week.
Fair.
From this last week, I was investigating. We're trying to make a decision of how to update the way we do our recommendations in our system. And as we were looking into doing that, I wanted to see like, okay, well, what's usually in this field? Like what data is usually in this field? And so we pulled all this data and I was able to scrape it and slice it. And I found out that in only 5% of cases was there anything that I would call non-standard. And then I was able to drill in on those edge cases. Man, geek out over that stuff. I get very excited. And I think the reason I get excited is it increases my confidence level in my decision-making. Because now I feel like, okay, we have the right solution in mind. There's some edge cases. We can round those off in these ways and we're good. And I feel really confident about what we've defined. Whereas if I didn't have that data, I think I'm going the right way, but I actually don't know. I don't know if maybe half of the data in that field is non-standard. And if so, our solution doesn't even work. So that's the upside to me, is like I get very excited by spreadsheet data and dashboards, and my confidence level rises.
Yeah. Joe, I want to clarify though. You were saying what you didn't like when you were doing magazine publishing. Was it too much quantitative data and too little qualitative? It's kind of what I'm hearing.
I never felt like we talked to the customer enough. Mm-hmm. On the other end, I crave that organizational culture of being data driven, like not reacting too quickly, like being too reactive to the needs of another department or like sales or someone else. Like very rarely was the hippo going to win out in a conversation.
The hippo being the highest paid person in the office.
Yeah, the highest paid person.
Quick question. Who would be successful in this kind of, how is someone successful in a data-driven, if they're really focused on data matters most, how can a product manager be successful in that team culture?
Yeah, I think a product manager in this kind of culture are those who thrive on experimentation, like the ones who really are careful not to skip discovery and have some evidence to back up the decisions that are being made. So those that wouldn't thrive are those that want to act on intuition, opinions, and instincts. That they would have a hard time.
Yeah, right. And so to me, an easy silver bullet here. You want to be successful in this culture, you have to know your numbers.
Totally.
So this is know your numbers, be able to walk in a room and share what you're, why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll share mine. So first, language. Language is terms like alignment, stakeholder engagement, internal buy-in. Values, happy internal users. Beliefs, if our internal team thinks this is the right thing and we're satisfied, then the product's going to succeed. Artifacts, PRDs, roadmaps that are actually release plans, and burn down charts. What would you guys name that culture?
I've got it.
What's that?
The collaboration champion culture.
Ooh.
Wow.
Say more about that.
Okay, so this is why they are over-indexing on keeping the internal stakeholders happy. Collaboration is king. We have to make them happy. How do I make sure they trust me? I have strong relationships. They know I'm doing what I'm doing. And they prize stakeholder management activities over anything else. This is where you will hear with certain teams, they speak they're almost like a chameleon. They speak in the language of that team that they're interfacing with because they know them so well. So it's like we're adapting, we're kind of working with them. And some customs and traditions of this team would be like they love when they're giving a product update, they talk about how happy everybody else is about what's going on.
In fact, what's funny is I love that because my thought was success here in this culture is that everyone is happy.
Right.
So I got to tell you this, Joe, I don't know if you've ever had this experience in publishing. I went to some of the journalists in the newsroom and I asked them, how do you know if something's good? By the way, I was looking for data. So, I was expecting someone might say, well, our viewership is this, our readership is this, X, or, maybe even we win some award or something. What they told me was basically, if everyone around these cubicles here like it, that was it.
Oh, man.
That's good.
All right. Well,
if everyone here likes it, it's good.
Yeah.
And I've been on product teams like that.
Yeah.
Like success is all the departments agree that's the right thing to do. After that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter after that.
Okay, so the name again. Use it again, Ryan.
I call them the collaboration champion culture.
Okay, so I'll give you. I like that one. How about consensus-driven product culture?
Ooh, Joe.
I'm giving Joe the point.
Yeah, Joe wins.
I use the term consensus builders.
Yeah,
that's the term.
Okay.
Okay, and so all right, people pleasers.
Yeah.
Right? I come from a family of people pleasers. You don't like conflict. Yeah. You want everybody to be like, actually, as you were describing, I'm like, you're describing my family. You're describing you're describing not my wife's side of family. That's definitely not that. You're describing the other side of my family. Did everyone get consulted? Is everyone happy? But really nobody's really happy. And someone feels like something's not being done, but they're not saying. It's like a product manager's version of the Truman Show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like scripted, but you feel like something's wrong and they're like little cracks. Like a satellite falls to the ground, or like the radio station starts playing the wrong thing, right? Like there's like, you know what I mean? It's like you're living in the Truman Show. It's like good morning, good evening, good night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so who thrives in this culture, guys?
Me.
Joe would be good. You know what's important here is, again, what's funny is we're naming each of these cultures. I'm seeing advantages in each of them. Like
totally,
you could grow product management skills in each of these cultures.
Yeah, because stakeholder management is a critical
very
product management skill.
Absolutely. We better be good at this.
Getting buy-in, aligning differing opinions. It's very good. So if you are someone that is naturally good at that, naturally good at those political skills, you'll do really well.
Yeah.
To be successful in this environment, you have to apply yourself to understanding other people.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, empathy. If you wanted to actually achieve real results in this culture, because you can make everyone happy and not actually succeed. But if you really wanted to achieve real results in a culture like this, then you have to be very good at understanding other people's objectives and goals and finding the path back to what you should do.
Yep.
Because this is one where you could really easily, this is where you could build like the, those Frankenstein products, right?
Totally.
Really easy in a culture like this to just build Frankenstein product, doesn't serve anyone well, just makes everyone internally happy.
So I want to add, somebody who wouldn't work well in this culture is if you have ever lost sleep because you knew the next day you had to deliver a stakeholder bad news that they weren't going to get what they wanted. Like if you feel that way or have that feeling, this probably isn't for you.
Okay, I have an idea for our time range. We've gone through 3. And so now let's do a bit of a lightning round.
Okay.
We'll go to each of us, name one. If someone else has something similar on the list, shout it out. And then if something is like really exciting to you, if someone names a different culture, like, no, I want to talk about that one, or I've lived it, then you call timeout.
All right.
And we talk about that one.
Okay.
You want to do that?
Let's do it.
All right. So Joe, you go first.
Process-oriented culture.
Ooh.
You stole mine, Joe.
I have something so similar.
I know.
Oh, you did? What do you have, Ryan? What is
process wonk
culture? Wonk. I had one called the planners. That's what mine was. The planners. So I had things like project status reports, risk registers, Gantt charts, RACI charts.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like everyone strives for a certain color belt.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Or a certain type of certification that starts with a number.
Right.
Yeah, bro. Process wonks. Process wonks.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, grab another one from your list.
All right,
I have to
another
come
one
back
from
to
my
that
list.
one.
So the innovator culture.
Oh my gosh, I have an innovative one on my list too.
Innovation driven. I have a little bit more.
Oh my
innovation
gosh.
driven.
Yeah.
All right, describe it, Ryan. How did you describe it?
All right, so this is how I describe it. These are people who like thrive on the big idea. Big idea. We've got it. Mm-hmm. They prioritize innovation over incremental improvements. So they're doing things like so they talk in the 3 horizon model. We look at Horizon 3, Ryan, not Horizon 2 and 1. So they're they feel they push the boundaries to make market defining products. And they're focused on exploring uncharted territory for the business is what they do.
Okay. I'm calling timeout on this one. I've lived this culture. I've been in this culture before. So I'll give you a custom. I'll tell you my experience. And I saw this custom, this tradition. It was this idea of the best idea wins. The best idea wins. And we're going big ideas. Okay. Now, of course, the best idea actually translated into whatever the boss thought was the best idea.
That's right.
Yep.
Which was often his idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this culture, I'll say a few things. First off, really exciting. It was really exciting because we were always trying to do something cool, something new, something cool. There was always something fun going on. So that I loved. The problem is because we were always working on big ideas, a lot of those big ideas took years to see the light of day, just years. And so we're working on all these things forever. And we didn't always see like new things or improvements coming to market because we were always working on the next big exciting thing.
Yeah, and it's not even improvement. I have been part of a culture where this was a priority and there was a damage to our reputation and customer satisfaction because we were losing sight of what's important with our existing products. Like the care wasn't given.
Right, like Apple, right? That there's a culture there. It's kind of a like not that I'm better than you, but it's like we're developing something that's monumental, that's going to shape the world. That's you should feel very lucky to deal with us.
Our culture was very much a cool kids only culture.
Yeah, there you go.
It's how it felt. We only hired cool kids and we were looking for the cool kids. That's who we are. And I will say this, I loved it. I loved
because you were a cool kid.
Yeah.
Because I'm so cool. No. I was the least cool person in the office. I was the least cool. But we do random brainstorming ideation sessions. You never knew. It would just happen. And next thing you know, we're in the room and we're talking about cool ideas. One day we were launching a new product. We made a commercial in a day.
Wow.
He was like, we got to the office, like, we should launch this with an ad. Yep, let's come up with something awesome. And boom, next thing you know, we had a commercial for this new product. Like, that was super exciting. I don't know. What do you guys think? Who thrives in that kind of culture?
Somebody who can deal with ambiguity.
Yeah, there's got to be
somebody that lacks structure.
Yeah.
Somebody who likes to fly by the seat. Like a lot of startups.
Yeah.
You're flying by the seat of your pants.
Anybody who's described themselves as the ideas person is the one who thrives in this culture.
I know a lot of ideas people who are not ideas people.
Well, okay.
But no, you're right. You have to have ideas. You have to be someone who knows how to brainstorm,
Right.
have ideas. And what I saw to be really successful in that culture, you have to be good at selling your idea.
Yes.
You have to be persuasive, someone who's really good at selling your idea.
Be a good part. You have to be persuasive.
I love it. Oh, so I grab one from mine? Okay, I'll grab one from mine. I have the learners. The learners, language, hypotheses, experiments, validation, insights, beliefs, continuous learning and validation lead to better products. Artifacts, experimentation plans, discussion guides, testing results, learning logs. Anyone have anything like that on theirs?
No, I think the closest I got we already talked about, but like we kind of skew towards the data driven, but it's a little different, I think, what you're talking about here.
Yeah, maybe it's UX driven.
Yeah,
culture.
I think the UX driven. Yes, I think the UX leaders are the values are learning and validation.
Okay.
Right.
But the one thing I'm starting to notice a lot, though, is there's definitely overlap. Like if we did a Venn diagram, like this one would have a lot of overlap with like the data-driven culture.
And the innovators.
And the innovators culture. Like there's definitely overlap. They're not all sitting on their own bubbles. You know what I mean?
Ooh, and speaking of overlap, I think you could even talk about the process want culture, because what if they have their process for discovery and now yeah.
And that's true. You know, I'm such a fan of anything UX related that I can often forget. You have the same thing where you can become analysis paralysis, over process focus, where everything has to check each of these boxes, or
and you have to use this template for discussion.
Yeah.
I remember I was in an organization where like you couldn't have a one-on-one unless you pre-filled a specific document and you sent it 24 hours in advance.
Oh, come on.
And they called it a level 10. So they called it. This has been many years since I've been at this company and it no longer exists. But we called them level 10s.
I wonder why.
So Joe, I'm going to use your words back to you. Todd, are you ready? Joe and I were in a meeting recently and he said these words: "Heavens to Betsy."
Oh my God.
Every once in a while, I think that Joe was born in 1935. Like everyone, he's the greatest generation.
That's right.
Even the old people on the call are like, I haven't heard that in 35 years.
Yeah. So, but guys, I think we just did something. I think the product culture's universe is collapsing on itself. We just connected everything. Like our murder board just hit Nexus. Like, like the singularity just happened.
Well, I'll tell you the reason why I picked the learners one and I put it on there is because I think I've tried to create that culture multiple times at companies, and I've yet to feel like I work on a product team that truly lives those values really well, like the learning value and the experimentation value.
Yeah, because I think we as product people see that as the holy grail. I don't know. Perhaps there are organizations that are closer than others, but I don't think leadership has embraced it as a value to the organization in order to get to the point, Todd, that you would envision it. That's probably what you bump into.
Well, does anyone have anything else from their list that they want to share in our lightning round?
I got one, but I call it a mission-driven culture. So like those organizations, it's hard to knock it because these people are like, these cultures are very passionate. They have a mission, but it's like, it's like you get a cavity. It's like it's overwhelming.
Yeah. So I'm going to call time out on this one. So I worked for an organization, guys. I could walk into this company and I could ask any single employee at any moment, what's the mission and vision of this company? And they would recite it off the top of their head without hesitation. I can still do it to this day. So this company was in the industrial health and safety market. And literally, it was all about saving lives. Like there were reports all the time. Like we would have our stand-up meetings and the president of the company would stand on a stage and say, look, this week, these many people died. It's our job to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Did you enjoy that? I mean, what's the upside of that?
So the upside to that is it is motivating. Like
You get clear outcomes.
all of us see the little things we do make a difference. People believe in it. And there was nothing wrong with it. Very, very clear outcome. Yes. Like, holy smokes, was there a clear outcome? We're protecting human life. That's what we're meant to do. But at the same time, it does, Joe, you were describing it, and is resonating with me that it can feel overwhelming. You almost can take on like too much responsibility.
Like a cult. It becomes cult-esque. Like you're drinking the Kool-Aid.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I do see it as unifying.
Yeah.
Like I believe that at our company, you can ask anyone what the vision is, and they will tell you that it's to eliminate needless suffering caused by medication delays. Who would be successful? I'm curious about this one. Who would be successful in this culture, in a mission-driven product culture?
So I think it's the person who aligns their own belief with the organization.
Totally.
Find that match and you run.
Totally.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. Any more from your list that you liked?
So I have one more. The one I want to talk about is the firefighter culture. It's I think everybody can fill in the blanks. You know what I mean when I say you've got your helmet on, you're putting out the fires.
The first thing, whatever the latest thing is, whatever defect just came up, whatever thing that just came out of a customer support call or at a sales call, or even, whatever neat thing a boss saw, a book he read, a podcast he listened to, or saw at an event.
Yeah. It's like you're waiting for the bat phone to ring. Like that's kind of what's happening there. And you love, speaking of language, your product updates sound like, look what I did like yesterday. Yeah. So that's
how you sell your value.
Yeah.
That leads to some anti-patterns I really don't like. I guess I'm going to call it a little bit of a timeout. It'll be a short timeout. But the anti-patterns I don't like is I don't like when we reward people for putting out fires. We reward people for, working on weekends, working late hours. Don't get me wrong. I think that's admirable to solve problems when there's fires and put them out. But when that becomes the primary value, you begin to see teams that operate that way. Yeah. They're actually almost like looking.
They're seeking it
manage
out.
They seek it out, and they manage their calendar based on what email comes in, right? Because they want to be the first one to get a pat on the back.
Yeah. So the people that thrive here are those that love putting on the cape. I just will say that they love playing the hero.
I think early in your career, I was at least a firefighter.
Totally.
Sure. Yep.
Totally. You want to get noticed.
Yes.
You want to get noticed. Yeah.
Make the name for yourself.
I'm like, first time I was a manager, that was totally me. I worked Saturdays, worked nights. I just wanted people to know that I'm working hard and I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
And you know why I did it? Because I didn't know what the crap I was doing. And what I mean by that is like, I couldn't rely on my vast knowledge base or all my experience or all my skills because I didn't have any. All I had was work really hard. So I maximized the work really hard skill. Right. Worked really hard. All right. Any last ones? I think, Joe, there's one you haven't mentioned that I've been waiting to hear that I think you had.
Well, I mean, thanks, Todd, for kind of set that one up on a tee. Right? It's that customer-centric culture, right? Where, we focus on understanding the needs of the customer, right? Yeah. We put the customer on the pedestal. We do whatever it takes. And that was a culture I thrived in for 11 years when I worked in travel. We called it end-to-end customer. We had teams. We had the pre-travel team. We had the during travel team. We had the post-travel. Like our development team was broken up by the cycle, like the customer travel cycle.
I'm going to call timeout on this one because I have too many thoughts about it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hit you with my thoughts about it. Ryan, Joe, you could jump in if you want to. So the first thing I'll say is the great thing about this culture, the common things that you hear in this culture are things like persona names, right? People know the persona names. Everyone knows the personas.
Yep.
They're used as if they're real life. You hear them talked about in real life. One of the disadvantages I can see to this kind of culture, though, is if you over-index to the customer sat metric. Customer satisfaction becomes your gold star metric, your North Star metric, your North Star metric, only because it's almost fear of anything. I think you were kind of alluding to this, Joe, in something you said, but it's almost fear of that ever going slightly down. And I think that can even be disruptive to innovation sometimes. Just the fear, like we don't want to do, we're really risk averse, which can make it harder to get something new out because you're very afraid to rock the boat. You want to keep that customer sat score really high.
As someone who is successful in that, you are someone like, you have extreme empathy because it's like when you hear a complaint, you take it personally.
Well, gents, before we jump into our key takeaways, why don't we do this? This will be fun. Let's say which culture we think each other would thrive in and why.
Data-driven for Todd. I can just see him eating I can just see him like in a movie theater, like with a big old thing of popcorn.
Hesitation.
He's got his big gulp soda and like non-caffeinated and a big buttery thing of popcorn just sitting there like, oh my God, give me the data. Give me the data. I love the data. That's what I think of you.
I think I would have put you in my innovators culture, Todd. I think, Todd, you're a little easier for me perhaps than Joe. But Joe, I would go for you more like I'm kind of split a little bit. Being a collaboration champion and customer-centric. Like I kind of straddle that fence a little bit.
That's fair.
Joe, customer-centric. I'm going to place you squarely in customer-centric. And I may be biased for the fact that I worked with you in a consulting fashion, but I know of you as someone who's always trying to go above and beyond, always trying to seek that out. Ryan, I have two for you. So one of them, you call him collaboration champion.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that more than consensus builder and what I would describe for you.
Collaborate.
I think you really thrive in aligning people and bringing people together. You're also really good at looking ahead and seeing big picture. So I think you do well in a visionary product culture as well.
Okay. Interesting. Cool.
All right. Do you want to jump into takeaways? Who has a takeaway?
I think like being a really good product manager is like being a character in Jumanji. Right? Like, you remember like the Kevin Hart, whatever his name was, whatever his character. It's like, what are his strengths and then what are his weaknesses, right? I think it was bread. I can't remember, carbohydrates or whatever. But it's like understanding, like there's a balance and like, okay, how do you use it? When do you use it? When are you going to thrive? Because like every time you have those tools in a certain situation, you're going to be really successful. It's just knowing when to use those tools. I think as product managers, we are all different variations of Jumanji characters in the product management space.
I think a big takeaway from me is don't undersell your impact on culture. You have the power to influence it. So think about where you're strong and where you're not. So looking at your Jumanji levels, you can see what influence am I bringing to this culture and maybe some others too. And see, okay, how does this mix work? We're building the smoothie of culture.
Ooh,
and
I like that. Smoothie.
Yeah, smoothie of culture.
King like the, what is it, tropical?
Yeah, I'll be the strawberry.
I'll be the tropical sunrise.
So like my takeaway would be, all right, recognize what the culture is. And two, see if you can exert some influence to both improve the way the product team performs and even how you can fit within it.
You know what? My takeaway actually surprised me a little bit. I must be in a very optimistic, positive mood because as we started off with some of these, it was really easy to see, maybe what disadvantages might be. But as we went through each of them, I just consistently just kept thinking, there's a lot of good here.
Yeah.
And what I realized, my takeaway is that you can learn something from any culture.
Oh,
yes.
Even if it's negative, even if it's not ideal for you, even if it's painful and this is not where I'm going to last. If you look and see what's the good here, like even something like a do what sales tells you culture, there is something to learn there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you learn how to communicate with sales, if you learn how to help enable them. So, and my takeaway is, hey, think about what can I learn from this culture that I'm in? Even if I'm frustrated right now, what can I get from it?
I like it.
This was awesome.
As always, thank you, gentlemen.
So fun. All right. See you all around.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us on the Product Porch. We release new episodes every 2 weeks. You can also find us on LinkedIn for more content. We offer a special thank you to AJ and Jack Blockhier for the music. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts of this podcast are their own and do not represent nor necessarily reflect those of their employer.